Ready to face your fears head on, conquer them, and create a safer, more prosperous future? Worried that the world has gone nuts and you've become an insanity magnet? Then grab a cold libation, put on your fuzzy slippers, and get ready to create your own safe space. It's the Safe Space Podcast with your host, Tammy D. For more information and episodes, go to www.saferpodcast.com. That's www.saferpodcast.com.
Hey everybody, it's Tammy, and I'm really excited to bring someone to you that I've been following his channel for probably as long as it's been around almost. And it's Travis over at the Economic Ninja. He is a fantastic influencer in the real estate, Bitcoin. I think you do it all, don't you? Real estate,
pretty much
Bitcoin,
do it all.
anything out there that's entrepreneurially flavored, you're going to find Travis, the Economic Ninja / Real Estate Ninja. And the reason I had him on today was to talk about his courses, all of which are really amazing. But the real estate course, we've got, some fantastic deals on it. And I wanted him to explain, why does the ordinary person need a real estate course and what's in this? And just tell a little bit about, how did you get into it in the beginning anyway?
Perfect. So I bought my first house in 2001. As interest rates were collapsing, the Federal Reserve was dropping rates dramatically on the backside of the dot-com bust, and people weren't buying homes, and homes were coming down a little bit in price, but the cost of buying those homes was drastically changing as rates fell. And there was a lot of inventory in the market. So not only did I buy my first home, within 9 months or six to 9 months of that, I bought my first rental. And 14 properties later, within 2 years, I was hooked. It made me a millionaire within little under 3 years, became an accredited investor, and I was completely hooked. And the one thing that blew my mind was that I read a couple of books, and the books that I read were actually written back in 1980 and 1982, when we had a massive debacle with inflation and you were able to buy homes for no money down. And so I took those lessons from 1980, and all I had to do was come up with 3% for my first home. And every property after that, I never put a dime into it of my own money. It was always the bank's money and equity from the last property that I purchased. So that's where just recently, in 2006, I sold all those properties because I knew that crash was coming in 2008. I liquidated and I made a killing, to be honest with you. And I started identifying cycles that were easy to identify, but yet most people just don't understand them because they're not taught in school. And most real estate professionals do not know about them. And I know that because I own a brokerage and I was a real estate agent and I had a property management company. I did all that kind of stuff. And everyone thought I was crazy. So what I did is I started a YouTube channel, and I said, what the heck with it? I'm going to start teaching the masses how to identify this stuff and how to make money in a good market and a bad market, but really get ready for those bad markets, because that's where the biggest bang for your buck is when it comes to growing wealth.
I actually lost my house back. The reason I wish you were around back then on YouTube, because I was one of the ones that lost my house in 2008. We ended up having to walk away from it. I had to declare bankruptcy because the state of California was threatening to come and tax us on whatever we were forgiven for the value of the home, and all sorts of things were happening then. So I know firsthand about the robo signings. We had those issues. We tried to refinance and the bank just lost our paperwork, conveniently. And the funny thing is, you're sounding a warning about the same things happening. We didn't listen. There's another category of people out there. It's not that people don't believe you. It's that they may believe you, but they just don't think it's going to happen to them. And I was one of those people, because I had a friend who said, you need to sell now. It's crazy. This is a bubble. You need to sell. You're going to end up out on the streets. And he was absolutely right. And were it not for the grace of God, we would have been on the streets. It was terrible. So I'm telling you, when someone like the Ninja tells you that there's going to be, the bubble's going to burst, listen, just listen.
Well, this bubble is much worse in 2008 because we have a commercial mortgage-backed securities crisis that will be in the news in the next coming months. There's already an inquiry at Freddie Mac about this with mortgage-backed securities, because we've just had a number of banks fail in 2023 because of their commercial mortgage-backed securities. So we've got all kinds of issues right now that are on a much grander scale than what we saw in 2008. And so that's where I want to teach people how to identify those cycles, how to get ready for it, and then how to pounce. And ironically, there are some of my students that have taken the lessons, because the last thing I want you to do is put a lot down on a property. That's the worst thing you could ever do. That's the difference between an investor and a speculator. Speculators just speculate that the property value is going to go up, so they put a bunch of money into it. An investor puts the smallest amount in there. It cash flows right away, and then the investor knows exactly when they're going to get their money back. And I've got students that are actually running out right now, buying properties right that are cash flowing. They're making like 17, 18% cash on cash returns right now. And they're getting the cogs greased right now. They're starting their corporations, their LLCs, putting one small property into it, getting it all ready to go, because they're essentially working out their financial muscles. They're getting those habits down now, so that when the big deals come, the wave of foreclosures come, which should be starting, this first wave starts in June, they're going to be able to pounce, because there's only so much time. And I know it sounds crazy. In 2008, when everything was falling apart, the bottom came actually in 2010 in home prices. And you only had a few years to pick up as many properties as possible until you had to compete with other people that had just lost their homes about, let's say, 4 or 5 years prior, went through a bankruptcy, and then were able to start buying again. So you want to be able to buy in this small window of time, a handful of years, and then be able, as the run up happens again, because the sun comes out tomorrow, the cycle always repeats itself. You want to sell those homes and make millions of dollars doing it.
That's amazing that you were able to see that while millions of other people just kind of stood around, and like myself. What do you say to people, though, that think that these kind of courses are all fine and good, but they don't have any cash? They're saying, yeah, Travis, I love what you're doing, but...
Yeah, so that's a great point. So I could give away, and I do, on all my channels, I put out all of these little nuggets of information for free all the time. People don't grasp it. But there's a big difference when you put a couple $100 of your own money into something and you get laser focused. As a matter of fact, I did not take, it was very good advice from very successful people in the teaching sphere that says you're charging way too little for your courses. And the reason why is because you get in their words, a lower quality student. Well, I learned that the hard way. And there are a lot of people that $300 is a ton of money to them, and they're holding on to it, but they blow it in the same sense on how they spend money or how they do a lack of budgeting in their life. And that's why they never achieve becoming wealthy. Wealthy people will drop $5,000, $10,000 on a course in a heartbeat. And I just recently brought my master course. It's about to go out at $2,500. And I think you've got the coupon code for the first part of that, which is what, 38 videos I think there is now on that. And we keep putting new ones on there. About every 8 weeks, a new lesson drops. And you've got it, a bundle of 3 courses, that course plus 2 other ones for $300. And the reason why we still do that and we're allowing it to come out so cheap is because I want people to have a little bit of belief in themselves to try something. And that's why I give the money back guarantee, but to actually go out there and try something and focus in on something. I have so many students that have emailed me and said, I never had the courage or the belief that I was going to own my own home. Not only now watching the videos and listening to you, because I went through this. I had to borrow $800 from my girlfriend, my wife now, but my girlfriend at the time, to move out of my parents' house. Okay. I know what it's like to not have any money. And so, then going to becoming a millionaire in my mid-20s and obviously now where I'm at now, I know what it's like. And I spent $900 on a course, and I could guarantee you this. I listened to every video, I took notes, and I made it a point to make sure that how am I going to get my money back? And then just the $900, then how am I going to get it back over and over and over again? And that's what's happening with these videos. There's no videos that teach what I'm teaching, I believe, in the country. As a matter of fact, tons of realtors have contacted me and brokers and said, I am not forcing, but telling my clients, you have to take this course before we do business, because we're going to have a totally different level of conversation when it comes to buying or selling real estate. And so I just think this is one of the greatest, I've never experienced anything like this. This is so humbling and so exciting at the same time to see people take these courses and it changed their life.
Right. I used to work with a syndication company, and their courses were, $3,500, some of them. Yep. So this is a lot different. I think the focus is on what you have now is not theory. It's what you've actually done.
You know what's interesting about syndication? You take a course on syndication and it's $3,500, and then you got to do a ton of work. You're talking about a course that's $300. It's actually 3 courses because they're normally $1,200 for those 3 courses. They got them knocked down to $300. And what it does is it's built for 2 different types of people. Someone that has never bought a home, and after all these videos, you're going to know exactly what to ask to your agent, how to find the right agent, how to find the right broker, how to find the right insurance company. But then you're going to know all that stuff, but then you're going to have a little bit more restraint because you're not going to believe the crap they tell you, like, oh, you got to buy now or you're not going to be able to buy. It's going to be too late. Or, you better get in at this rate. And you know what, since you can't afford it, you could afford more. You're going to get through all that crap. And it's a joke because I tell people, I used to sit down with people in the loan docs and go, look, I could save you $5,000. And most of the people, check this out, I would always do it for free and nobody would take my advice. Then one day somebody came to me and I said, I'm not going to give out any more advice because nobody takes it. I'm sick and tired of it. I hate watching people blow money and waste money and lose money. And one day I said, look, I'll look at your stuff, but this is what I want. Give me your best deal. Go find a home that you want to buy and find me 3 loan estimates. And what I want to do is this. For every dollar I save you over $1,000, I want 50 cents on the dollar. And that person walked away in unbelief. And I'm like, it was a guarantee. I will save you anything over $1,000. I will save you. I just want 50 cents on the dollar because I knew this person was just full of hot air. And I got to that point where I'm like, I just knew, and this is why that advice came, like, you're going to get a different level of student when you ask for more money. And that syndication thing, like you're talking about, you got to do a lot of work for syndication. I mean, you are borrowing, stealing to get a bunch of people together to agree on one big property, and then you're getting a pittance from it. And here I'm selling a course for $300 to show you not only how to identify these cycles, how to save money buying your house, and then how to go buy 10 rentals after that. Oh, and then if you want to sell it, there's Home Seller Pro. And then if you want to, I've got real estate agents calling me about Home Seller Pro going, I am going to put this to work in my brokerage. I'm like, well, I was a horrible real estate agent, quite frankly. As a matter of fact, so I don't think like a salesman. I think like an investor. That's why this sales pitch is probably horrible too.
What I want to do is bring my audience some tools that they can use, because there are a lot of people out there that really don't have much belief in themselves. And they really do want to try, because they know that real estate is probably one of the few avenues to wealth that's left in this country for the ordinary person. So you call it a living course. Why is that?
So what I did was I wanted to make it the most valuable course out there. And I laugh at the people. It sounds funny. So the first video, it's probably the worst thing I could have ever done. The first video is me trying to teach a very valuable lesson of growing wealth. And that is, I say this, because I have one of the lowest return rates in the company that manages this course. It's like 2% to 2.1%, depending on what month. First video says this: the first thing you need to take away from this course is that all you should care about is getting your money back. So if you spend $100, if you spend $200, if you spend $300, your goal is to only find that one nugget that can get you your $300 back. It's not going to get you rich. I have found out of the 2.1 or 2.2% at max people that return it, 80% of them never watched a single video, right? They impulse bought and they went, I just need my money back. Or I read the titles and it's too basic for me. And I'll get to that in a second. The rest of the people that return it, they watch that one video and that's it. Like, if this ain't gonna make me rich, I don't want it. I'm like, all right, it will actually make you rich if you put all of this together and work your butt off. And it will save you tons of time and money because it's a life hack. You're learning from someone that's been in the business for, 21 years or something like that, 22 years. Out of the people that say this is too basic, I have clients or students that have 60 rentals and Gulfstream jets, 900 doors. And they're going, this is amazing. And it's funny because even me, I was blown away. I'm like, wait a minute, why do you think this course is amazing? And they all say the same thing. They say it brought us back to basics, because the basics is what made us who we are now. But actually in real estate, this is what most people don't realize. You could sit there and everyone look at you and think you're so impressive because you've got a 100-plex apartment complex, and that's awesome. But you can't make the profit in a 100-plex that you could make in a single family residence. Reason why is because you can make money and manipulate the emotion of selling that property and expand how much it's worth way better than you could with a 100-plex, because that 100-plex is valued based off the rents. And a single family home is based off of income, off of emotion, off of taxable information. There's so much more value in the basics. And that's why during this crash, it's really important that people don't go racing out and buying apartment complexes. They go and buy these single family homes or condominiums, because that's going to get you the best bang for your buck in this next downturn.
How do you deal with the psychological barriers in this course that people can't imagine themselves in that position because they've been told they can't do it?
Yeah, the cool thing is, like I said, it's only 2.2%. And it's funny because I'm about to launch the master course, which is going to be $2,500, and it's going to go up from there. And the type of person that I'll be teaching is honestly a higher quality, not because of their intellect, because of one thing that they understand is that they understand that they are working on this life hack sort of theory. They're learning what not to do, and they know how valuable that is. And, I was just speaking with a gentleman that is a CPA in Texas, very intelligent man, multi-millionaire. He's probably well over $10 million. He owned a lot of hotels. And he said, because he was telling me all the different courses, like, yeah, I spent 10 grand on this one, 8 grand on this one. And I said, why did you do that? And he said, I just got to learn 30 years in this one person's career in a matter of a month. And it cost me $10,000. And he put out his best work. And I think it's amazing. So as far as the barrier for people stepping in, what's $300 worth? It's less than what an attorney charges for an hour. It's about the amount a CPA charges. And can you get a real estate agent to sit down with you and actually give you their experience for an hour? More than likely, no. And the truth is, most real estate agents, they don't even own their own home, let alone multiple rentals. That's another thing that I talk about in the course, how important it is to identify the proper CPA, the proper real estate agent, the proper loan person. They have no concept. All they are there to do is sell you something so they can get a percentage of the deal. And yeah, I've done big deals. My largest real estate deal I ever did was $33 million in my brokerage that I owned. And I've had small deals, and I'm probably the worst real estate agent there ever was, because I don't look at it from an emotional standpoint. I look at it as how many different ways am I going to make money? What kind of tax breaks am I going to get from the property? What kind of income's coming in? How easy is it going to be able to sell and move this? Most people do not comprehend these things, so they don't buy the proper properties because they're being led by the wrong people.
Absolutely, and that can apply to a lot of things. But before I let you go, I wanted to find out what it was. Lately I've been watching your videos and stuff, and you seem very intense about and very sure of yourself that there is going to be a popping of this bubble that we're in. What are the big signs that have really alerted you to that?
Yeah, so it's funny. So the bubble's already popped. The median home price is dropping. Matter of fact, we've seen the median home price drop over 7% in a lot of cities around the country, but even the national median home price is dropping. If you compare it to 2008, it's way more aggressive and faster. I was the first person 2.5 years ago to even talk about commercial mortgage-backed securities. First person on the internet. Google ranked me super high. I got tons of hate for it. Now, then China went under with Evergrande about 4 months after that, and they just cascaded. I've spoken about a lot of things that people laugh at, and now they're in the mainstream news. Even when Grant Cardone was saying, you're nuts not to buy real estate, it's never a wrong time, he's now freaking out over his company because why? They're having to refinance and they can't at these much higher rates. It's totally fine with me that people don't believe it, because I was the crazy one in 2005, mid 2005, when I started selling my homes. And it wasn't really brought out into the open until 2008 because it was all in the mainstream media. You'll see this all in the mainstream media in 2024. But again, I was a crazy person when I said, oh, in about 4 months, the banks are going to start to crash. And we've seen a banking collapse larger just in the spring of 2023, larger than all of 2008 combined on a dollar basis. So it sounds funny. People are like, how do you know it's happening? I'm like, you're insane if you don't realize it's happening. But I guess those are people that listen to Jim Cramer and the mainstream media. And if anyone can learn anything from the mainstream media in the last, well, let's say since 2016, that is a lot of it's made up and there's lies. And so there's a lot of people selling. Berkshire Hathaway has the largest cash hoard on record for a reason. Jamie Dimon is selling his bank stock for a reason. Jeff Bezos is selling his stocks for a reason. The wealthy are positioning themselves, and I think people need to wake up and get out of that poor mentality. And one of the ways you do that is you go and put some money into yourself and learn something. Look, here's the truth. I tell people the course is worth less than an hour of a CPA's time and less than a college course. I give a 14-day, money back guarantee as long as you haven't watched more than half of it. If you don't have enough faith in yourself to do that, and you'd rather spend your money on whatever you're doing, then you're probably going to be in your position for the rest of your life. If you want to wake up and you want to go be different and attack the world and take advantage of downturns instead of being a part of it, well, then you're going to go crush it.
So this could work even, people that are worried about losing their jobs, and we're going to have a bunch of layoffs continuing, I'm sure, into the year, probably even worse than we have now. Is that going to be something that's going to work in your favor if you've gotten because you said there are 4 steps, I think, in one of your videos. It's 4 things that you need to do now. One of them was keeping your credit score high, as I recall.
Yep.
And the other one is to get out of debt, right? That's probably the most important one.
As much debt as you can, and set some money aside, because you're going to need seasoned money in a bank account for a down payment for your first house. And then I don't remember the 4th one off the top of my head, but really it's keeping your head on a swivel, and it's who you hang out with. I think I touched on that too. And just the invention of AI since last December, 2 Decembers ago, it's insane how fast this is taking over. And here's the other thing. Go to a new housing development right now. Just go to any of Lennar's websites and see them with a red line through the home price and a 10% discount. They're not doing that because the houses are flying off the shelf. The days on market are extending. There's foreclosures starting to pop up. This is the beginning. And I remember in 2006, a New York Times article was just like freaking out, saying that New York real estate has just dropped 2%, and it hasn't done that since the early 90s. And they were freaking out over 2%. Well, little did they know that a couple of years later, oh, wait, our entire market's down 30, 35%, and people are getting laid off in droves. Well, people are getting laid off right now in the real estate market, in the banking sector, because nobody's making the investments that they used to, and the clock's running out. So how long do you want to sit on the sidelines, or do you want to be getting ready for this? I've been preparing for this crash for 14 years now, because I missed out on a winery for 2.3 million that's now worth over 40. And I vowed back then that I would never miss another deal. So I've been getting ready on a level that nobody I know has been.
I noticed is Lennar and some of the other ones are building these complexes that they started off as housing complexes, and now they're leased to own, or they're leasing them out. They're so desperate to get people in there.
So what's happening is there's Wall Street money right now is pouring into these big developers, and what they're doing is they're trying to essentially build to rent properties, and they are trying some lease to own and things like that. That shows the sheer desperate measures that they're at right now. And if you understand how desperate they are, it's going to get worse, because the Federal Reserve said they're going to keep rates higher for longer. This is exactly what they did to the entire market in 2004 to crush it. And I wish more people knew their financial history, because I'd be selling a lot more classes. But this is why I sell the classes, because I try and teach people this, get it into their system. And quite frankly, they won't take in this information unless they put the money out.
I have no problem with the course. I've sold courses that were much more expensive than this and did not have as much content. So it's not the price. I think it's mostly, I think, people's belief system. I have a hard time after going through the bankruptcy, after losing my home, seeing myself as a real estate mogul. I have a hard time envisioning that. And I always ask myself, well, I'm barely making it now. How am I going to turn this around? Do you think you're going to see? I think you're talking about Robert G. Allen's Nothing Down, right? Is that was the popular book in the 80s?
There was one. Carlton Sheets also did a bunch of those books also in the early 80s. Yeah.
Yeah. Will you ever see a time where you will be able to do a nothing?
100%. I'll give you a free lesson. This is exactly when this happens, because this is what happened to me in 2001. As the Federal Reserve starts to drop rates, They're dropping rates to stimulate the economy, but it's already too late. The reason why there's dropping rates is because things are bad. Stock market's falling, housing's falling, people are late on their credit card bills. Well, anyone that misses a couple credit card bills, you're done. You can't qualify for a new mortgage. At the same time as everything's falling, banks will not lend. So as interest rates are dropping, what is happening? There's more and more homes stacking up and you start buying them. And then as rates go down, you can start to refinance them, pull out the cash, and at the much lower rates, you're able to keep your cash flow the same or even better because the lower rate brings the opportunity of a lower payment. So that's what I mean by zero down. You buy one house, and as rates come down, actually home prices start to stabilize and slowly tick up in value. So what you do is you pull your initial down payment or even some equity because you fixed up the house and your payment hasn't changed, or it's even a little lower, which means a lot of people, they go, well, I'll pull a little bit more money out of it to bring the payment up to the same. Now I take that money, I go put it into an LLC and I go buy more properties. That's the seed money for the other properties. And you keep wash, rinse, repeat that. Essentially like a rehab model where you buy a home, you fix it up, put a little bit of lipstick on it, it appraises at a higher amount, you pull the money out, you go to the next one.
It sounds really great. It almost sounds too good to be true. So I'm hoping.
Well, it is too good to be true. And this is why. This is why there's very few people. It's because very few people actually put the work out to do it. Honestly, that is the truth.
And that's with most things, honestly. If you want to, all these advisors always, complain to me about their clients not taking their advice and not putting the work in to get their finances back. But you can get out of debt. You can, put yourself in at least a good position to walk up to a deal and at least give it a try. Or buy a foreclosure. That's a different animal altogether. And I think you do have a foreclosure course as well.
Yeah, we're going to come out with a much better one here in the near future. We're not really promoting that one anymore, but we are going to be doing that as these foreclosures hit the market in June. I actually just missed a smoking deal on a foreclosure yesterday because I didn't get to it was the highest, the best and last offer yesterday. And I could have picked it up for about almost half of its value if I would have put in 2 weeks worth of work, and then fixed it up. I'd have made an extra $400,000 on it.
You're so busy doing all these other things, and I appreciate the time that you took with me.
I'll tell you what, I have seen more people be paralyzed by fear for the greater part of a decade and not act and make wealth, because wealth, and this is the craziest thing, because we could talk about war and all this stuff. We can't do a whole lot of that to fix that. And that's why I'm trying to get wealth back into the middle class's hands, because the poorer the middle class gets, the more dictatorship style our country gets. And that's very scary. And
Absolutely.
So that's why I made these courses. This is why I'm preaching. You don't even have to take the course. Just go. I didn't have a course when I started my first 14 homes. I didn't have anything like that. It wasn't until I got to a certain level and I got around wealthy people and they're like, you need to go and pay for your own education. Go and pay people. And I paid not only to take someone out to dinner. I was like, I really made sure that I was giving so much more than I was receiving, that I would just have a wealthy person go, just don't do that, do this, watch what happens. And it would just blow up my financial life, And so with the more money you have, the more options you have, the more time you have. That's what money buys you. It buys you time.
The quality of your life is proportionate to the number of choices that you have.
Totally agree. And so the war stuff, I can't do a whole lot about, other than try and get 1 million people wealthy in this country and go, now there's their voter base.
I mean, you're right. We can't do anything about it. We can prepare and not be, prepare and not be scared, right? And not let fear be the arbitrary thing in our lives. So I really appreciate what you do. And this is the reason I want to promote this course, because I want other people to have a chance. I want myself. I want me to get out of these doldrums. I always tell myself crazy stuff like, if you're over 50, you can't do this anymore. It's too late.
And even if it means, you don't go buy a bunch of real estate, but you find a good deal and you know how to identify it and you go buy it for yourself, you go, was it worth it? And that's why I put the power in my students' hands. I not only wanted to give you the knowledge, the information on how to identify this, I want to give you some kind of way of making money from all this too, so that money can go towards your first home or your 10th rental. I want to be able to give you the tools, the financial tools and the mental tools to get through this.
It could be the way to get the money that you think you don't have to retire too. I mean, there's a lot of people that are really short of their retirement money, and this is one of the quickest ways I know that you can build up your retirement fund.
Totally
to
agree.
make these kind of deals. So I really appreciate Travis being with me, allowing me the privilege of, promoting his course. I encourage you to go to the link that's below the video and click on it, look at it, take a look at the sections that are in there, and new stuff is being added all the time. This is not just a one and done kind of thing. And then when you get really, really wealthy off of it, then you can take his master course and get even wealthier. That's what
and I will say that the price you've got is not going to be forever, because as we keep adding courses, the price is just going to go up, or we split the course and do something different, because it's just way too much info for the price.
It is, and it's a lot. I have seen other courses before, and I can tell you that you're getting a lot of bang for your buck. So thanks, Travis. I really appreciate you and all you do, and I know this is not just your job; it's also your ministry too.
And it's a massive passion of mine. Thank you.
I really appreciate that. So take care. God bless, and let's pray for California, because boy, we really need it out here.
Amen. I totally agree.